Guys, this is kind of making me a little bit more unsettled. Have you ever heard about Plum Island?
No, it sounds delicious.
Is it like a place where ticks live?
It's not a place where like plums grow. It's a lot less delicious than that. So there's been a lot of really big conspiracy theories concerning the Plum Island. It's to give you a little perspective on where it's at. It lies about 2 miles from Long Island, 10 miles from the coast of Connecticut, and about 85 miles from Manhattan.
That means nothing to me.
It's like a northeasterny kind of craggy island, I imagine.
So a government-owned island near Long Island.
That's cool.
10-mile island.
Well, originally it was a fort that dates back to the Spanish-American War. So late 19th century, early 20th century. It was actually a fort that had a lot of cannons. It was there was turrets installed there. It was kind of like the first defense to keep people from attacking the island of Manhattan.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
awesome.
Later on, after years and years after World War II, there was a government lab set up there that was basically established by two men. William Hagen, who was a former dean of the Cornell University's veterinary school. Well, but he was also
Hagen-Dazs.
I just got that. That was fucking funny.
Singers. Comedy hand grenade.
So William Hagen, he was a veterinarian, and he used to be the dean of the veterinary school at Cornell University. He was also the man that first developed weaponized anthrax, known as Strain 99.
How can we ever thank him? Hey, here's the thing that's killing sheep. Can we make this kill people in a weaponized fashion?
And the other man behind Plum Island in its inception was Erich Traub, who was...
This sounds fucking evil.
A Nazi scientist.
There it is! Alex Traub!
Always comes back
who
to
got Project Paperclipped by the U.S. government.
Okay.
Yes. So Traub had actually had a facility that was very similar to what Plum Island was during World War II. He worked directly under Heinrich Himmler, the head of the SS, on what was known as Rheims Island in the Baltic Sea near Germany. And he was also of the veterinary school. He was an expert in hoof and mouth disease or foot and mouth disease, which basically affects cattle predominantly, but it can spread to humans. But if spread, it can decimate the food supply of an entire nation very, very quickly. It's an extremely contagious disease. So he was doing research on hoof and mouth disease for the Nazis.
Wow.
And he was
When was this? Was this like in the late 30s?
This was during World War II, yes. And
so from 36 to 45?
Until the war was over, he was employed by the Nazis, by the SS.
No shit.
And then in 1948, the British government scooped him up. There's actually interview footage with some ex-Soviet generals who said that he was a prime suspect for them to scoop up and use for intelligence. They wanted him badly, but the British got to him first. And then, as part of Project Paperclip, he was brought to the Americas in 1949 and started working with the CIA, the Army, the Navy, and eventually the USDA, the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Again, his expertise was in these fields of foot and mouth disease, but the idea was to create a biochemical weapon or a bioweapon that would destroy a nation's food supply, as opposed to having to employ something like an atomic weapon where you would decimate the infrastructure of a city. If you just eliminate their food supply and kill the population,
you get all their buildings and roads and everything.
That's correct.
So it's kind of like if you were to exterminate the North American wild bee, which pretty much pollinates everything, you could destroy an entire civilization's food supply.
Yes, you could. Yes, you could.
Or at least 85% of what's made from bees.
If you're terrified and you know it now, clap your hands.
Angela was the only one who didn't clap her hands.
That doesn't scare me, like, at all.
Well, that scares pretty much all of everyone else on the planet.
Well, you all should be more resourceful.
Well, I'm trying my hardest, okay?
By y'all, you mean humans, right?
Yes.
Hey!
Thank God. I'm off the hook.
But most of the work, again, was to study animal diseases and bacteria and viruses that could affect the food supply of a population.
Under the pretense of defending us against them.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
Exactly. So the U.S. government was purporting that they were trying to defend our nation's food supply, and that the more that we could learn about these viruses and bacteria, the more that we could defend ourselves from outside enemies during the Cold War.
That's some shady shit, though.
But while you're doing that, you have to be breeding these viruses, breeding these bacteria, and of course you're learning how other people, or how one in quotes, might weaponize them in order to prepare a proper defense. So at the same time, they are doing weaponized biochemical research.
And if someone looks at a disease and goes, man, this is horrible, how can we make this even worse for people I hate?
Right.
You know, I mean, this will kill like about this many people, but let's have it kill all the people in an area.
It's just
can we work on that?
It's a tale as old as time, right? It's like fucking biblical. They've been doing that for forever, literally.
Why don't we work on curing diseases instead of weaponizing
because
them?
it's so much easier to take your shit than to be nice to you and like
also more
participate in your society.
That's exactly right.
Exactly.
War is money.
War is money.
So these methods were basically researched and employed throughout all of the Cold War. The U.S. government denied it for decades, but eventually in 1993, a local paper called Newsday, which is sort of for the Suffolk County area of New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, discovered these documents, these unclassified documents, purporting that they were doing research to battle the Russians during the Cold War by researching bioweapons.
Well, luckily, the Russians don't have anything to do with America currently.
Well,
thank you.
The U.S. government has denied that any of these stories are true.
Shocker.
And dismissed them as fairy tales, things like that. But no one has also concretely disproven these theories. There are rumors that during Castro's reign between the 60s and 70s, there was a outbreak of African swine fever, and it decimated their food supply. And he thought that he accused the American government of employing this method. And the only where in the Western Hemisphere for this specific virus to exist was at Plum Island.
African swine flu?
Yes.
So that's the only other place that,
in the entire Western Hemisphere where this was known. It's not indigenous. There have been no recorded cases. And then all of a sudden it breaks out, and probably the U.S.'s biggest enemy during the 60s, right after Bay of Pigs and all of the nuclear standoff.
Bay of Pigs! Swine flu. So they weren't just being dicks. They're like trying to even put a dig in there. You think you got Bay of Pigs? We got swine flu for your ass.
During that time, pigs were the predominant protein that was farmed in Cuba.
Wait. Was it pigs or was it kids?
I can neither confirm nor deny the behavior of one Fidel Castro.
Did they have any research around ticks or any of this weird shit that was all over me? Can we identify what these are?
Yes, perhaps.
Make it all about you, Kaz. Make it all about you.
I'm currently crawling with fucking whatever the hell.
That's new for you.
He is scratching the hell out of his ass. Look at that.
Don't worry, Kaz. I'm just going to light their butts while they're trying to bite you.
Oh, there you go. Thank you.
She's got flame.
Eric Traub, a lot of his work was with ticks.
No. Is that what these are?
Well, one of the things that a lot of the workers who have gone off the record, they did not want their identities be disclosed, have said that they have done work with ticks for decades at Plum Island. Basically, how to put a virus or bacteria into a tick and then deploy it from airplanes even onto a enemy's territory in order to get at their food supply.
So this is kind of like Agent Orange, but they've
with ticks.
Agent Orange was a exfoliant that just destroyed, that through fire killed defoliant. Thank you. Sorry, that just was fire that stuck to you. This is something way more surreptitious, that they can drop this and then your population starts dropping and there's no fire, there's no destruction. You get to come back in if you have the antidote, and you get all the buildings, you get all the roads. If you use something like Agent Orange, you're killing all that. If you use something in napalm, you're using sticky fire. This is so much more insidious.
This is still another vector, though, to introduce another pathogen.
So, one of the most nefarious theories about Plum Island is that Lyme disease was created and not exported, but it got loose from Plum Island.
What? So Lyme disease wasn't a thing?
Lyme disease was discovered in 1975.
What?
Rare and Old Lyme, Connecticut, which is where? 9 miles away from Plum Island. It basically meets the mouth of the Connecticut River, which is only 9 miles away. And back then, the animals that they would test on were kept outdoors. And I must say that the security at this place was impeccably shoddy. There had been outbreak in 1978. There was an outbreak of hoof and mouth disease that spread across the island with no source. They had no idea where it came from. They had to burn over 200 animals. They had to send people home. They had to quarantine the entire island. But going back to 1975, when Lyme disease was first discovered, all these people started getting these weird arthritic pains. No one could diagnose this. Lyme disease is extremely hard to diagnose. But here's the thing, is that the building that they had been in since the late 40s, early 50s, was basically falling apart. There was accounts of 3/4-inch holes in the roof. It was just falling apart. It was built on the foundations of a fort from almost 60, 70 years earlier. And pathogens transmitted by ticks, some of which can be smaller than something you couldn't even see without a microscope, could easily fit through holes like this. Right. And it is it is over one of the largest migratory paths of birds in the United States.
Oh, perfect. What could go wrong?
So all it would take is for one tick to get loose, a bird to scoop it up and drop it off 9 miles away across its migratory path.
Was this something also that this pathogen or organism could evolve into different hosts so that the tick could take it on, the bird could take it on?
A lot of people think that Lyme disease originates with deers and that it's predominantly carried by the deer tick, but it is also, rodents are a great vector.
So
and the ticks will pick it up.
Different organisms.
And again, this is an old building, so there are a ton of rodents running around. There's a ton of ticks.
When did the project end?
Pardon?
When did the project end versus the finding of Lyme disease?
Well, the facility still exists today, but it is under the direction of the Homeland Security Department.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, perfect.
That's very true.
Yeah, that's exactly
what could go wrong once again.
Officially, the bioweapon research program was ended under Nixon in 1969.
Right.
Yeah, right.
But there are people that used to work there that purport that they went on well into the 90s with this research. There have also been accusations of Plum Island being responsible for outbreaks of the West Nile virus.
I can see that. Zika.
And of the... I'm going to slaughter this one. What is this?
Avian flu.
The Dutch duck.
The Dutch duck?
What is this called?
Sounds like a sick dance.
As far as you want to go down to the Dutch duck.
No, I'm right.
It's when you duck
the Dutch duck.
Your penis into your vagina.
That's the Dutch duck.
That's the Dutch duck.
I didn't know.
Yeah, the West Nile virus, there was an outbreak in 1999, and the Dutch duck plague of 1967.
Affected humans or just ducks?
Well, so this is another topic that is of great controversy about this facility. It is considered a level 3 contamination unit, or they need level 3 protection for these viruses, which means basically they are studying only viruses that can affect animals, and a level 4 would be something that can be transmitted to humans.
What is that called?
Zoonotic.
Zoonotic?
It's zoonotic when it can be transferred between animals and humans.
Terrifying.
But they have, because a lot of these diseases start in animals, been studying level 4 viruses and bacteria for years, for decades.
In this old
dilapidated, rundown place
thing.
That is just
sweet.
Has no sort. It even has no sort of security system up until recently, up until after 9/11. It did not have guards. Under the Army, it had posted guards and everything like this. But when the program shut down, then it was unguarded. They had security cameras. They had unarmed guards. They had 2 docks. A truck once was stolen from there.
What are the guards going to do?
No one had any idea what was on the back of it.
How are the guards going to stop a tick?
Once a box of pathogens was dropped
off a boat
into the ocean.
It's dropped into the ocean?
Yes.
Wow.
What is a box of pathogens? Contained in what?
And this facility, like I said, studies high-level, highly contagious, highly deadly diseases, such as the Rift Valley virus, such as...
Pac-Man fever.
Such as Pac-Man fever. Such as anthrax. It has all of these very, very...
Such as Slayer in Early Testament.
I think I need to go to the hospital.
No, here's what I think we know what we need to do.
Have you really gotten
we need to hose down Kaz. Kaz needs to take a Silkwood shower right now. We need to just to hose him down with the most high-powered.
We need to give him medical attention.
Water. Yeah, we need to steam him up.
Kaz, you all right?
He doesn't look so good. Guys, he really doesn't look so good.
He didn't look good before, but now he looks way worse.
My joints are locking up. I feel like sort of vaguely citrusy. Like
you smell almonds.
You look vaguely citrusy.